Welcome back, everybody. This is our Bioinformatics Day, and this is our Q&A session. We have two amazing college mentors here for you, and this is your opportunity to ask questions for our mentors. Do not be shy. Type in chat. They want to hear from you. They're going to do a brief introduction about themselves, share some slides, and then it's really up to you guys to share those questions that you have for them. So I'm going to stop speaking, and I know Kate is going to be sharing her slides, and I'm assuming she's going to be the one starting the introduction then, right, Kate?
Yes, absolutely. So welcome everyone. We're super excited to be here with you today. And like Monica said, this is really your guys' time. We're going to share a little bit about ourselves. So hopefully this will give you some context to the kinds of things that you might want to ask us and the kinds of experiences that we have. But whatever you guys might be curious about related to engineering, related to college, anything you guys are wondering, we'd be more than happy to answer. So I'll let you take it away.
Hello everyone, nice to see you guys and meet you guys. My name is Sine Bas, and I am a current senior at Cornell University studying environmental engineering. And my interests in engineering are biotech, biomedical. So bioinformatics has a little bit of biomedical engineering actually in it. So you guys got a little sense of it. I also love renewable energy and sustainable development. My ET involvement, I was an intern last year. I helped with the data, developed it, and helped with the wastewater and agriculture lab. Yeah, I'll hand it off to Kate. Oh, yeah. So, excuse me. For my, I guess, trajectory since high school, I started involving myself in a UC Berkeley program, which is in the Bay Area. So it's like kind of Northern California. And it was a STEM program. And there I was able to build my engineering skills. I was able to work with people, work with other fellow engineering passionate students. And then I started interning right after high school. So as I started interning, I figured out what I liked in engineering, what I didn't. And then I also got into Cornell. So I continued my education there. And I was part of a project team called Agua Clara, which they provide sustainable water resources for communities in Honduras that do not have any water resources. So I was able to still be part of that. Later on, I figured out that I really wanted to try biomed and the biomedical and biotechnical world. So I interned at a biotech startup, and we were bridging gaps for medical procedures, communications, and I loved it. So after I decided, okay, maybe I do want to stay in this realm of engineering. So hopefully either I'll get my master's or go into the manufacturing side of the biomedical field. And then as for the trajectory, there is an arrow missing. So I think you just have to click one more time. Okay, yeah, there we go. So yeah, on the left corner, you could see that it was all during high school. I did a lot of project. The one on the top right of that little section, it is a renewable energy project. So that's when I figured out I really like that realm of engineering as well. And I did a lot of presentations to other scholars or other professionals. So I had a little bit of experience with that as well. And then when I started college, I interned at DoorDash and Zymergen. And that's where I was able to build my engineering skills in the corporate world. And on the right images, you can see hands-on, and that is me. I don't know if you can see, but hugging what we call our USB system. And yeah, just building it and doing a lot of mechanical side of engineering. And then later on, I did a lot of biogas, and which is part of the wastewater treatment processes, and then worked alongside a lot of biomedical and biotech meetings.
Awesome, thank you. So now just a little bit about me, and just a reminder, while we're talking, you can still put your questions in the chat. You don't have to wait for us to be done at any point. We'd be happy to answer any of your questions, and we can definitely get to them. So feel free to keep thinking of them and putting them in the chat throughout. But like I said, my name's Kate, and I'm a current junior at the University of Notre Dame studying computer science engineering. And I also have two business minors in engineering corporate practice, which is just like general business concepts for engineering students and kind of emphasizing how business and engineering intersect. And I also have a minor in real estate. And then some of my other interests other than business and engineering, I'm really interested in user experience and user interface design. So kind of like, how do people interact with technology? What does what does technology look like? What makes it easy to use, nice to look at? I'm super interested in data science, which I'll talk a little bit more about going forward. And then I'm also very interested in biology, and I've always loved biology. And again, I'll kind of get into that a little bit more as I talk about my engineering journey throughout high school, when I was in the same position as a lot of you guys. So in high school, like I said, I was super interested in biology. I took, I don't know if you guys have Project Lead the Way at any of your schools, but we had Project Lead the Way at my school, which was, it's like a national program that allows high schoolers to get experience in either engineering courses or like biomedical courses. So I went for the biomedical route actually. And oh, awesome. I saw someone that used a THPLTW. I went for like the biomedical engineering more route. And I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I was super interested in biology. I came to college majoring in chemical engineering and thought like I might want to go pre-med. But I also just had a lot of interest in high school. I really did not know what I wanted to do. I did student council, I did mock trial. I thought maybe I wanted to be a lawyer, maybe I want to be a doctor, maybe I want to be an engineer. I, was an ambassador for my school, played a couple different sports. And I was really just like interested in a lot of things and did not know what I wanted to pursue for my career. So like I said, started chemical engineering. I thought this will give me some opportunities to do a couple different kinds of things, depending on what I decide I want to do. And during my second semester of college, this was the first ever introduction I got to programming. The first time I had ever even seen what code looked like, my second semester of college. And I ended up really liking it. I saw someone wants to be a lawyer. That's awesome too. I ended up really liking it, which I wasn't expecting to at all, because I've never been someone super interested in technology or computers or even like video games or anything like that. And so it kind of came out of left field, but I ended up really liking it. I realized it's just kind of like picking up on patterns, doing little puzzles, and being able to kind of find the way to the end of the problem and solve it. And so I switched my major to computer science, which has been amazing for me. And I've been able to do, I realized a lot of the things that I was interested in high school, I've been able to apply computer science to those things. And so that's what I think is so cool about engineering, is that even though none of my like major interests or things that I love to do in high school had to do with computers, what I love about computer science is not the computers. It's all the things that you can do with computers, because there's really so much. And that kind of goes for every kind of engineering. Maybe you're not super interested in, I don't know, computers, or you're not super interested in mechanics or physics. But when you think about the ways that you can apply all of those things and the ways that the engineering impacts the kinds of things that you do find fun and that you do find interesting, I think you'll start to realize that there's a lot more within engineering that excites you than maybe you previously thought. At least that was my experience. So during my time as a computer science major at Notre Dame, I'm in the Grand Challenge Scholars Program, as well as the iTread Scholars Program, which is a data science, socially responsible and engaged data science program. It's kind of a mouthful. But both of these programs have given me a lot of great opportunities to kind of see how we can engage with our community within engineering. And one of the things I've done for the Grand Challenge Scholars Program is research, computer science research regarding methods of reducing incidences of lead poisoning among children in our community, which is a project that I've worked on for almost a year now. And I'm super passionate about this. It's been a great thing to be a part of. I've also been able to participate in some Student International Business Council projects, which is a club at our school. And this has also given me an opportunity to kind of intersect business and engineering together. And I had a software development internship with Reynolds and Reynolds after my freshman year, which kind of helped me do a little discernment as well. And then this past summer, I was able to study abroad. And now I also just recently, last week, accepted a internship at Abercrombie and Fitch for this upcoming summer, which I'm sure some of you guys have heard of their clothes and stuff. And so, kind of my interests and my involvements are all across the board. And I really like to emphasize that, because when you think of engineering, you're not really thinking of a clothing company, you're not really thinking of Abercrombie, but there's so much more beyond engineering than just what you might stereotypically think of. So again, if you guys have any questions about that, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm really interested in this, but I don't know how engineering would relate to that, feel free to put that in the chat and we can kind of brainstorm it and talk about it together. Because I really think there's so much within engineering that probably all of you guys would be interested in. And then again, here are just a couple photos of my experiences. So these pictures in the top left corner over here, this is from my research regarding lead poisoning and some like mock-up apps, just like first round. And we hosted a conference to get some feedback on like the functionality of the app that we had researched and designed. This picture of me with my pink rain boots on, we went out into the community and we were taking soil samples to figure out like where the source of lead was coming from in our community that was causing this lead poisoning. And then this is a picture of me and my roommates from last year at a football game at Notre Dame, which is always a fun tradition. And yeah, I just have some other pictures from like my involvements. We got to visit Microsoft for one of the clubs I was in that I talked about, and just like some other stuff that I have been doing in classes. So with that, that's enough about me. If you guys have any questions about any of these things, feel free to put it in the chat. But I did see that we got some other questions in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing and take some time to read those. And if you've read them, Sinead, feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of comments about being a lawyer, going to college for criminal justice. That is amazing to hear. Yeah, I did want to address the first question in the chat. So the first question is, what is the best piece of advice for high school students that are interested in studying engineering in college? Things they can do now to set themselves up for success. So I'd say best piece of advice for students that are interested in engineering would be get involved during your summers. So I got very involved working and I did a lot of educational programs, and that really helped me to build my interest and knowing what to do. And I think a little bit of the worry in high school is like, what type of engineering am I going to do? Like, what am I even interested in? Do I even like this type of engineering? And that is very valid concerns, because obviously you're going to go to college, you have to figure out your major. You obviously have time for that in college to figure out. But in terms of high school, I want to say just get involved, start networking a little bit, figure out if there are any opportunities for you. I know it doesn't have to be internships, it doesn't have to be educational programs. There might be like 1 week programs or 1 week free virtual things. And I think building up your resume by then, when you have more free time, I think that would help you a lot. And then things to do now, again, just getting involved, and also maybe just learning a little bit about the different types of engineering. So getting yourself familiar with them and then being like, okay, these are definitely not the ones I'm interested in. Just putting down what you are really interested in, just giving a solid list and then figuring out from there. But yeah, if Kate, you want to answer that question as well.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer for that question. And I think you covered it well. I was reading this other question, which is super interesting. And I think that the person who asked this question, whatever anonymous student this was, is very cut out for engineering. This sounds like a really cool project. So basically what they're asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there an app that can be able to scan photos of people and provide different kind of statistics or measurements of their faces? For example, height of cheekbones, distance between eye sockets, other things like that. And the reason they're asking is because they're interested to know if there's been a change in human facial features in the last 80 to 90 years. So they want to scan pictures of like old vintage pictures and then compare it throughout the years. So do we have any ideas about this? I'm interested in changes in humans throughout time, or is there a way to develop this app? So this is a super interesting question, and I think a super interesting project to pursue. I'm really I've never thought about this before, but I think that the way you're thinking of these things is really indicative of like a great engineering mind. So first of all, very impressed even by the idea and by the question. And I would also love to know the answer now that you've posed it. It sounds to me like something that we would probably need artificial intelligence to be able to do. And so I'm not familiar with, I'm sure there is an app out there that can already do this, because this is something that people have kind of been working on. And even if you guys think of like Snapchat filters that go on your face, that the kind of technology that is behind Snapchat filters would probably be pretty similar to what's going on here, because they have to be able to identify different features on the face to be able to line up the filter with the way your face looks. And so you might not even think of those kinds of things when you're using Snapchat filters and just like having fun with it. But really, there's a lot of actually very intelligent and complex engineering behind that makes those filters be able to work. And so something similar to that, the way that so much research has been done in that, and there's so much advancements in terms of like filters and things like that, I'm sure that there are apps that would be able to have this functionality. In terms of like how you could download them or what they would be, I don't have that information specifically, but on the background, I would assume that they're using definitely some kind of artificial intelligence and maybe some kind of convolution neural nets, which is like a AI model that can do a good job at classifying photos or videos, just like different images, and like categorizing them in different ways. So yes, this is a pretty complex kind of thing to develop, but definitely a really cool idea. And I would absolutely encourage you to keep looking into this. And do a little bit more research about it. I would say if you have limited background in coding, maybe I would first try to outsource it, do some research, because I'm sure that there might be some open source code that has something to do with this. But again, I'm very impressed by your question. I think this is a super interesting thing to look into. And I think you could have a very bright future in engineering. All right, let's see. How do you get your mindset to focus even if you're struggling? So I like how Betsy answered this. Just try to find one thing to move the needle forward to your goals. I think that's a great point, because sometimes within engineering, within college, within anything, anywhere any path in life you decide to pursue, sometimes you feel a little bit overwhelmed by things, and just figuring out what's one thing you can control, and how can you improve it, and sometimes that's all you need, because it really is such a mindset. And so being able to kind of shift your mindset by recognizing like you have the power over these things, and figuring out exactly what I said, like, and what Betsy said, like, what do you have control over? And then how can you take yourself one step further to that goal? And a lot of times just taking that one step will put you in a more positive mindset that allows you to be able to work towards other things as well.
Yeah, if I could answer one of the previous questions, I think yeah, I'll love all the responses, all these questions. Someone had asked in the chat, what types of projects have you worked on with environmental engineering? And I'm sure Kate, they'd want to hear your side because we're different types of engineering, but I worked a lot with wastewater treatment plants, so hydrology as well. And hydrology is like the study of movement of water. So I've worked with so my college is in Ithaca, New York, and we have a lot of flooding problems here. So I've worked on projects to prevent that, and that requires a lot of engineering, a lot of environmental engineering backgrounds. I've also done a lot of renewable energy projects. So I did a project in high school, and I'm developing even now for a class where there would be a system that generates all your energy and controls it, grabs data, and makes sure that there's the least amount of energy that's lost. So it also saves you money, but also saves gas emissions for the planet. And yeah, I've done a lot of projects involving soil treatment as well. So looking at different pesticides and figuring out which ones work, which ones don't in different environmental conditions, and a lot of biotech projects, especially at my internship. So figuring out different engineering documentation practices for instructions in our product, and also figuring out how to update and regroup our console as well. And yeah, a lot of different, obviously, I want to say, since I am in environmental engineering, I never stuck with it in all my projects, which I think is interesting, because in engineering, you do not have to stick to one thing. I know me and Kate have a lot of different different interests, so definitely do not feel pressured if you choose an engineering major and then you're like, wow, but I really like this, or I really enjoy that too. You can mesh all of that. So even with my environmental engineering skills, I was able to do a lot of different projects. But yeah, I love all these questions coming in.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's a great point. And it kind of, I think, even kind of transitions nicely into the next question, which is how do you know what major you're interested in if you don't know what majors there are in university? So the first thing I'll say is kind of like what Sine was just saying. Your major is never supposed to be something that limits you. And it should not, like, especially within engineering, whatever major you choose, it's not like you're going to be confined to only that major for the rest of your life. There's going to be opportunities for you to expand out of that if you have other interests and stuff. And so like, um, I know plenty of people within engineering who got a degree in mechanical engineering and now work in computer science, or got a degree in chemical engineering and now they work in business side of things. And so there's so much transferable skills within engineering that if you're stressed about finding your major, don't like, this was some great advice that I got freshman year. It's just like your major, it doesn't confine you, and you can do things outside of that as well. So as long as you're doing something that you're interested in, something that you can work with, then you can definitely be able to expand beyond that and transfer that to other things too. But in terms of like choosing your major to begin with, like I said, first of all, you don't have to have it all figured out. I did not know what major I wanted to do when I came to college. I thought I did. I ended up switching, and that's completely normal. I would say like I don't know about most, but a lot of people switch their major when they get to college, a lot of times even more than once. So it's perfectly fine to like not know before you get there. or even once you're there, it's totally fine. Like someone replied, colleges have a lot of resources to help you investigate what kind of major you want to do as well. But I would say, like, if you're looking at specific universities, definitely just Google it online, look at their website and see what kind of majors they offer. Because, if there's something that you are super interested in and a college doesn't offer that major, then you might, want to consider something else, or you might even learn about majors that you didn't even know existed. There's a lot of different schools have different majors and different specialties of education or specializations of education that I might have not even heard of, and I learned about some after coming to college as well. So I would definitely recommend that you start by just thinking about, like, what do I like working on now, what topics am I interested in, what kinds of projects do I like to do in school, and then go from there. Look at your resources, read about stuff online, see look at your colleges and what kind of majors they offer, and yeah, just remember that whatever decision you do end up making, you're not going to be bound to it. You have flexibility and you can continue to learn about your interests and change that later on if anything changes.
Yeah, I love all of that. That definitely resonates with me. Yeah, to move on, there is a question about why are we still making electric cars? And I love, Logan, how you're thinking. You added more information. You're like, maybe this is not a good decision. We should stop making electric cars. And that is how an engineer can think. So you should definitely be questioning it. You should not, with engineering, there might be a solution, and sometimes maybe your job to be like, maybe this isn't a good solution. Is there something better? So I love the way you're thinking. And I definitely agree. Electric cars aren't the best, I want to say, alternative. Definitely have their pros and cons. So obviously electric cars don't need any fuel. So you can personally, or not personally me, but as a person that might have an electric vehicle, you will be saving money on gas. And overall, it depends. There's pros and cons, as I said before, but it is said to be environmentally friendly because it does not emit pollutants. But again, if you look into the battery of an electric car, the way they mine it, the way they take those raw materials, when you have to discard it, then it becomes way worse. Or maybe some electric cars do last longer than normal gas, I want to say gas fueled cars, and that might be the benefit of it. But then, when that electric car doesn't work anymore, you will have to discard it, and all those materials might be bad for the environment. It overall said there is better performance for it, but yeah, I want to reiterate what Carla said. So there's a lot of resources, no matter what, I guess, project you go into or what material you do, there will be mining, there will be some type of environmental deficiency in it. But love the way you're thinking. If you're really interested, I would really want to encourage you to take a look into it, and maybe you could find an alternative or find something better and figure out. Yeah, if you're really interested in electric cars, there's electrical and computer engineering that is very heavily in electric cars. There's some mechanical. There's so much in engineering that you could study and then look into this project.
Yeah, great engineering thinking about different pros and cons. That's a lot of engineering with trade-offs and not getting a perfect solution, but always just trying to make it better. Another good question we have is, with ChatGPT becoming more and more popular, is there a way or an app that we can use to run a piece of writing to determine if it was written by an AI or a real person? And the answer is yes, but not perfectly. So there's definitely a lot. I mean, I know this is a big initiative of schools. Like, they want to be able to, like, see if students are cheating on their work and stuff or not. And so this is definitely something that's in the works. And I have heard of, like, certain models that can determine if it was written by AI with, like, maybe, I don't know, pretty high accuracy. I don't want to give out numbers because I could be wrong, but with a pretty good accuracy. So definitely these things are becoming, I'm sure that we will see very soon in the future this becoming fairly relevant, since ChatGPT is so new. But also ChatGPT is going to expand, and so that will impact the um, efficacy of those models, and whether or not they still work as ChatGPT also grows. So those are kind of going to be two things that have to work back and forth a little bit, I'd say. But again, another really good question. I also saw from the Ursuline School, how much freedom do you have with major classes slash internships with schedules? So I think maybe this means just, like, with scheduling your classes and, like, getting internships maybe. If that's not what you mean, please feel free to clarify and I'll try to take it back to what you were looking for. But one of the great things about college is the freedom that you have in terms of, like, choosing what kinds of things you want to be involved in, choosing what classes you want to take, and even when you want to take those classes. I actually just had my registration this morning at 6:30 a.m. And so I got to pick my classes for next semester, which is really cool. Because like I said, I'm a computer science major, but next semester I'm taking some business classes. I'm taking accounting. I'm also taking some electives, which are like, I mean, electives I'm sure you guys are kind of familiar with, but like, you know, especially when you get to college, you get to choose what kind of, you have a core classes that you have to take for your major, but then you have electives that you have to take. So I'm taking like human computer interaction, like kind of like what I was talking about. How do people interact with computers? How do we make it easier to use, nicer to look at, stuff like that. So in terms of like what kinds of things you want to study, that's definitely predetermined, or not predetermined, you get to choose your major, but you have a lot more flexibility in college of like what you want to study, as well as the schedule that you choose to make. So typically classes have like multiple instances of each class, and you'll be able to choose like which one you want to register for, as long as it's not full, as long as it's not filled up by other students who have registered before you. Then you can really have a lot of flexibility with your schedule. So even this semester, and this is kind of a question that we got earlier too, like what days do you have to go to school? This semester I was able to make my classes so that I don't have any on Fridays. I go to school Monday through Thursday, and I have a lot of classes on those days, but Fridays I have off. And so that's been a really nice way that I was able to make my schedule as well. And then in terms of like fitting internships into your schedule, oh, I see. How much can you deviate from your major when taking classes? Thanks for clarifying that. So yeah, I guess I did kind of talk about that a little bit too. Um, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying. You can do your different electives that you're interested in, and as well as minors. So minors is a really good way to deviate away from your major if you're interested in another topic and you want a little bit of like supplemental knowledge about something that's a little bit less related to your major. So my minor is the reason why I am taking business classes. But even if you don't choose to pursue a full minor, a minor is typically about 5 extra classes, which is like about an extra semester of college. You usually can take like 4 to 6 classes each semester, but I mean, usually you don't go for an extra semester, you just kind of fit it in or like double count stuff, just to be clear about that. But it's about 5 extra classes. So that can allow you an opportunity to take some different courses. But also, even if you're not interested in pursuing a full minor, you can register for classes outside of your major. If it's just something that you're interested in, you are more than welcome. And in fact, I would say that like a lot of schools would, love to see you learn about things that don't have, aren't direct requirements for your major. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. In terms of registration for classes, there is a lot more freedom and flexibility in college in pursuing the different things that you're interested in. And there's just a lot more classes in general, because, college is like, there's so many different kinds of classes to take and so many different majors that people are pursuing. So there's a really wide variety of knowledge to obtain from the college experience. So I think we have about 3 minutes left here in our Q&A. If anyone has any quick last minute questions, we'd be more than happy to squeeze them in. But thank you guys for your really impressive and fun interactive questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I
And if
want to
anything,
touch in. Oh, sorry, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say I wanted to touch in someone else also talked about high-speed trains. So definitely again, there's trade-offs, pros and cons, high-speed trains. You can have several people in them. Definitely encourage you to look into it. If you guys have any further questions, we're here. I guess as a wrap up, maybe we can, Kate, if you're down, maybe talk about some last minute, I guess, encouragements for these students. I mean, I want to say it's very impressive that you guys are even doing these labs and doing all of these, you're learning about engineering. I didn't even know about engineering and all these different types of engineering until like college. So I definitely love that you guys are doing that. I love that you guys are looking into it. All of these amazing questions, all of these topics. Definitely commend you for all that. Keep doing that. That is my main advice. Just keep doing it. Do what you love. If you don't like it, you do not have to do it. That is your freedom in college. You do not have to do it. You do not have to study it. So definitely love that for you guys.
Yes, and I know we just have 1 minute left. I saw one quick question, which again is really interesting. I'm very impressed by these engineering questions that are coming out of Farmington, I believe it is. Um, so this question, do you know a simple coding language that can be used to predict how the effect of eradicating a certain type of organism will affect vegetation in the area? So in terms of like one coding language, I would usually recommend Python for things like this, but also you're not going to be able to do this with only Python because you are going to need to create some kind of model with data that would be able to and be able to train this model for it to be able to make predictions. So there's not really one simple coding language that can be applied to this, but using a coding language accompanied with data that you have that would represent this kind of situation, you would be able to train a model to make those kinds of predictions. But it is a little bit more. I saw you said you've seen a model using NetLogo. You want to input. Oh yeah, you want to input your own research data. That's awesome. Sorry, I didn't even see that to the end. Perfect. Yeah, I would say like this is something that you could probably do on Python. I'm again very impressed by these questions. And I would love to see the results of all these things that you guys are thinking about. So way to go with your engineering brains. Very good stuff coming out of there.
We are at time. I want to say thank you to Kate and to Sine, but thank you to the teachers who are typing in the chat with these amazing questions from your students. This was amazing. And thank you. These ladies answered these questions so well. Thank you to everybody for a phenomenal Q&A today.